All right, everybody, welcome back. So today we're going to look at the shelf pin drilling and how we make sure we get our balanced panels in there and some different options with that. So we've got three different methods we're going to do. One is based on the Rockler one, and there's other shelf pin drilling systems out there. Another one is a shop-made version, and then the third would be the LR32 from Festool. So we'll go through kind of how I would lay those out and then kind of demonstrate at least the LR32 system. And then, yeah, then we're going to move on from there. All right, so we're going to go through a little bit now how to lay out the panels. I'm just going to do a real brief kind of an overview of what we did before. So one of the things I did talk about was balanced panels. So this is one of my side panels for an upper cabinet, and that is 1052 millimeters, or about 41 5/8 of an inch in length. Now when we lay these out, and I think I talked about it briefly, our shelf, typically where we're going to set up our hinges are here and here. And we talked about a balanced panel. What that does now is this and this are equal distance. And the way we do that is they're set up so that they are, we start out with 80 millimeters from our edge here. And the way we get that 80 millimeters is 2 increments of 32, which would be 64, and half of 32, which is 16, which gets us to 80. So that's the first one here. This one's at 80. This one's at 80. And then it's 32 millimeters from that forward. That's why we keep it the balanced panel. So like when I make the right and left side of this cabinet, or all of my uppers are going to be, I get interchange any of these panels from one cabinet to the other. It doesn't really matter. They're all, now I do have them labeled which one this one is, but it really doesn't matter. So I've got hinge, hinge, and because these are tall enough, I'm actually going to do set up for 3 shelves. So I've got 5 holes here, 5 holes here, 5 holes here, which gives you your adjustability front to back. And I don't have holes back here because we're going to have our hinges there. So I use the LR32 system. That's an expensive system. That probably, unless you're doing it in production or you're doing a lot of cabinets, you wouldn't spend that kind of money. So one of the things that's readily available is, this is from Rockler. It has pre-drilled holes, and you can go ahead and, it does have a pin so you can align it on the 5 millimeter. So if we can see that, you can see if we dropped a 5 millimeter pin in there, we can, you know, come in with this Insti-bit, and it's a spring-loaded bit that has a collet on the outside that will go in there and drill out each one of those individually. In order to get longer ones, what you do is you drill a hole and then start, you know, if you want to get further up, you just move up and drop another pin to get longer. That's one way of doing it. And to me, it's easy to get off on that, but this would work. So one of the things I did do is basically I made a larger version of this. And what I'll do is I'll make sure whatever I do is going to be the full length of this panel. So this isn't long enough for this one, but this one is about a 32 inch for a 2-inch panel. So what I'll do is I'll start drilling my holes at 80, and they're at 32 millimeters all the way up there. And what I'll do is I'll set up the drill press, and I believe this is a 3/8 bit, which is the diameter of the collet on the outside here. I'll set up a fence at 37 millimeters, which is the distance that this needs to be back in order for our hinges to fit in where they're supposed to be. So then what I can do is, like, if I was going to do this cabinet, I can come back with a marker and mark, I'm going to do this one, and which ones, which are hinges, which are shelves. But I would make this the whole top of the full length of the cabinet, and I'd always work from the top or work from the bottom. So I'd probably come in here and mark this panel, put a mark on there that I know which one is bottom. If this isn't completely accurate, if you get a little bit off, and it's easy enough to do when you're laying this out, to get a little bit of adjustment, which doesn't matter if you're using it from the same reference point. So in this case, we're going to reference from the bottom every single time and the outside. So I've got an arrow out here for this side, and we'd go and drill our holes. Now in the back ones, I'm going to come back in here and I'll actually line it up with my groove. Again, flush up on the bottom, come up and drill the holes I'm going to be. Now, if I was going to do the other side of the cabinet, the hinges would start, this would be the bottom, and we do the same thing. Drill our holes, arrow to the outside to the bottom, line up, and then drill our shelf pins along in here. So that's one way of doing that. That's this is just a piece of scrap. That looks like about 1/4 inch plywood of something that I had along. And you can make your own jig. You can do it this way. And I'll put links to, excuse me, to the Rockler and these Instabits if you're looking for those. So that's the way we do that. And then the other way is I'll show you how I normally do it now with the LR32 system. All right, I want to just go into a kind of a brief explanation of how the system works. I've got my holes marked out for, this was I believe a 30, this is a lower cabinet layout. But we've got our rail that's got increments of our hole at 32 millimeters. But then in the back here, we actually have two stops that we get screwed on. And those get screwed on, they got various marking, and then this one, what they always say is 32 up and out. So you want the 32 up, which is facing away from the panel, and out towards the edge here. So there's our 32. It'll drop into our panel right there. That gets screwed into place and held. And then if our panel's cut right, that fits on there without any, there's no play, so that just drops on. And then what I've got to clamp it, I've got a stationary stop on this end, and then I got an adjustable stop on this end. So with a spring roller. So when it comes time to put this in place, that'll align it top to bottom on the panel. Now to get it in and out, they've got another piece that actually snaps onto the guardrail and then has a little stop here. And that goes on top and bottom. And there's some calibration you have to do to when you first set these up, but once they're set up, they're pretty much, you should never touch them. So that's holding us front to back, and that is set up. So this is 37 millimeters that we've talked about before. So it'll drill my hole at 37 millimeters. These are the stops, keep it from edge to edge. Clamp it in there, pull these off, and then we go ahead and drill our panel. Now we want to do the back side. Come back in here. Again, we take these, but now they're going to drop these within our grooves for our back panel. That gets us lined up. Clamp our piece up. That's ready to go. Now, one of the things, and I'll mark this as I change each one. So this was originally set up for hinge, and hinge because it was I believe that was my cabinet for a farm style sink. But now what I want to do is I just take some acetone and I clean these off. Get all my marks off. And then what I'll do is we're going to flip this back around because I generally will do the face of the cabinet first. We drop our adjusters in there, but this is where we want to go. So what we want to do is come in here. And we talked about 80 millimeters, so it's going to be the third hole. So we're going to do an X, an X. There's our hinge on the top. Again, third one in. X, X. And then here, I want to do my holes there, there. And I've already cut these out, so, and you can just lay it out. So what I know now is when I'm doing the front of the panel, I have my two X's and my lines. Now I bring in our router, and these holes line up with our pins on the bottom here. So we're doing this one, I've got an X, hinge. There's an X, other X, there's my other hinge. Nothing, nothing. There's my next hole. And there's how you lay it out. So now we'll go. I've already drilled these, but I'll throw some footage in here of me actually drilling these from before. All right, so there's a few options of doing shelf pin drilling for your side panels. I think the next thing we're going to work on is doing the last of the prep for the sides of the panels and stretchers and stuff with pocket holes, and get ready for our actual panel, our box assembly, and attaching our legs. And yeah, so I think that'll be the next video. So until next time, see ya.